If you're in academia, or hey, even just thinking about it, you're gonna want to listen up. There is a seismic shift happening right now. The way universities hire faculty is going through a fundamental reset. And by 2026, the old rulebook, well, it's pretty much out the window. So let's dive in to what this great academic reset is all about.
You know, this quote right here from Jared Kanizai at academicjobs.com, it just hits the nail on the head. This is the core idea driving this entire thing. We're moving from a world of intellectual explorers to one of workforce engines. That's a huge, huge change in mindset.
All right, so here it is, the Great Reset. What this really means is that the old ways of measuring an academic's worth are being tossed aside for a new model that's way more pragmatic and totally aligned with the workforce. Let's break down what that actually looks like.
Okay, look at this. This comparison really lays out the two different worlds we're talking about. On one side, you've got the old standards, right? Research prestige, where you got your PhD, your citation count, all that stuff. But on the other side, you have the new model, workforce ROI, return on investment, student job placement, and how aligned you are with actual industry needs. It's a complete 180 in priorities.
So let's talk about the first big shift. And wow, is it a dramatic one. For the last 10 years or so, diversity, equity, and inclusion roles were just booming in universities. But that trend, it's coming to a screeching halt. And this number says it all. A 70% drop in DEI-specific job postings. That is a staggering decline. We're not talking about a small adjustment here. This is an entire sector that's basically in free fall.
So you're probably asking, why? What's causing this massive drop? Well, a new federal compact for academic excellence is a huge part of the story. It basically penalizes what it calls ideological bureaucracies, think departments seen as pushing a single point of view. Because of this, hiring committees are now being told to use merit-only frameworks. And this is fascinating. We're seeing a move away from diversity statements to intellectual diversity statements, which are all about a candidate's ability to bring a wide range of ideas to the table.
Okay, on to our second shift, and this one is all about the money, the return on investment, or ROI. With tuition costs going through the roof, universities are under massive pressure to prove their value, and that's having a huge effect on who they decide to hire.
And here's where it gets real. There's a new law that actually caps student loans for degrees that don't lead to high-paying jobs. The result? A massive surge in what are called professor of practice roles. These are people hired directly from hot industries like cybersecurity and AI development. And it's not just the big universities either. Vocational colleges are booming thanks to new grants, and they're desperate for instructors with real-world, hands-on experience.
This brings us to our third major shift, a growing crisis in attracting talent from around the globe. For decades, let's be honest, the U.S. was the place to be for higher education, but that might not be the case for much longer.
Just look at this chart. The cost for a university to get an H-1B visa for an international scholar has absolutely skyrocketed. We're talking from around $5,000 to over $100,000. That one policy change alone makes it incredibly difficult for U.S. universities to bring in the top minds from around the world. And it's not just the visa fees, you guys. The entire landscape for international scholars has changed. The hiring focus is shifting to domestic talent. Crucial research funding is getting slashed by 40, even 50%. And even tenure isn't the golden ticket it used to be. It's really a perfect storm of things making the U.S. look a lot less appealing to the world's best and brightest.
So, as the U.S. makes it harder to get in, other countries are basically rolling out the welcome mat. Nations like Canada and Australia are actively poaching top-tier researchers, leading to what's being called a brain gain for them and a brain drain for the U.S.
And that brings us to our fourth and final shift, which is a real game changer. There's a new national competitor on the scene called the American Academy, and it's totally shaking up the old university model with a new star system for professors.
So, think about this way. In the old model, a big university might hire 100 different lecturers, all teaching their own version of the same intro course. It's decentralized, and frankly, it can be pretty inefficient. Well, the American Academy is flipping that whole idea on its head. Instead of 100 different people, they're hiring one super lecturer, a real star in their field, to create one amazing online course that can then be delivered to literally millions of students.
But of course, one person can't possibly support millions of students by themselves, and that's where the success coaches come in. These are the people who are on the ground, so to speak, giving students that day-to-day support. So the faculty role is essentially being split in two. You have the star content creator, and then you have the student managers. It's a whole new way of thinking.
So, let's put it all together. What does all of this mean? When you take these four huge shifts and look at them together, a completely new picture of the academic world starts to come into focus.
At the end of the day, in this new world, an academic's value is being totally redefined. It's no longer just about your research or what you know. It all comes down to your direct impact on the workforce. How many of your students get hired, and how much money do they make? Those are the new metrics of success.
All of this really leaves us with a huge fundamental question. In this new era, what is the ultimate purpose of a university? Is it meant to be a workforce engine, a place for pure intellectual exploration, or maybe something else entirely? The future of higher education is really hanging in the balance, and honestly, the answer is being written as we speak.